Okay, so let's make a start. So thank you everybody for joining this morning and welcome to the Formworks Digital Excellence in Plant Hire webinar. My name is Nima Sabani. I'm one of the sales managers and product experts on Formworks, and I'll be joined by James Earl, who's also one of the product experts and actually works in our delivery team, who will be doing the demo at the end of the webinar for you. So without further ado, let's get started. So what we want to do today is discuss sort of digital excellence within plant hire, but before we can do that, we need to go through sort of the obstacles within plant hire industry. So we'll be talking about the obstacles and sort of how they present themselves at this moment in time, the impacts of those obstacles within the plant hire industry and business, and then show you these impacts in terms of the stats, so the proof behind the pudding into how those impacts are actually affecting your business. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at how digitization actually works and effectively how a digital solution like Formworks can actually help you within your business. And then we're going to summarize on the key takeaways before showing you the demo of Formworks and how that goes into practice. So if you look at the first slide that we have here, so the obstacles, as I mentioned, within plant air. So these are some of the things that we are all aware of and that pose the day-to-day, pose day-to-day complications that we need to overcome. So firstly is accreditation and the compliance around that. So does the hiree meet the accreditation criteria for the hire? Now, some of the businesses that we work with, they hire out the plant machinery on its own, some of them with operators, but either way, you're going to want to make sure that whoever is operating that bit of kit or is actually um, doing the work on site has the license and the accreditation to do so, because at the end of the day it could cause damage, it could cause issues within the workplace that effectively end up costing you in the long run. And then we look at training and how training and testing and competency questions are carried out and how the data for that is collated. So in effect, are you doing the correct training? So somebody might have the accreditation to actually operate that bit of kit. However, there's an update or there's a new variant of it, and effectively have they been trained up and are they competent to actually operate that updated version effectively. Then we look at maintenance checks. Maintenance checks are really important because obviously you need to make sure that the kit is often being maintained to ensure its operational efficiency and that it doesn't cause issues when it's out on hire. On and off hire management, how you're keeping track on what's coming in and going out on site. Often there's a disconnect between what's actually in site and before that data actually is received in the office. So effectively something can come into site early from hire, and you have another customer that calls and asks for that, I don't know, digger or dumper, and effectively if it's not a live feed in terms of what's checked in and checked out, then that can lead to sort of hires being missed, and it makes your business less efficient. Health and safety is massively important as well. So are the relevant health and safety checks being made within your business, because ultimately they can lead to injury and other issues that could be caused effectively by them. And then risk assessment that links into health and safety. Are the risks that are relevant in the industry being mitigated, or are they being managed effectively, which then all leads into sort of insurance and sort of damage disputes, and how do you prove liability and how do you prove that you did the due diligence that you were supposed to. So what does that mean for the business? That could mean injury, it could mean damage to the plant machinery because of negligence or a lack of checks on the accreditation or training. That could all then lead to insurance claims, costly processes that affect your bottom line effectively. And if things aren't maintained properly or get damaged, then you've got repairs, which can lead to downtime, and that affects the availability that you have for your hire. It's going to affect your efficiency when it comes to your business. So that's the doom and gloom, but then how are those sort of correlating into stats, and what does that mean for the business in terms of the actual cost, and how can we quantify those things? So if we look at planned downtime, it cost the construction industry an estimated 37 billion annually. Now that's effectively a large amount, and if your business is actually contributing to that figure, then it's definitely a cause for concern. Predictive maintenance, if we if we actually ensure that the machinery that we have is actually maintained, then we can actually reduce the machine's downtime by up to 50%. 30 to 50% is the average across the industry. And in addition to that, it's twofold, because you can actually increase the machine's life by between 20 to 40%. So not only are you getting less downtime, but you're actually increasing the life machine by 20 to 40%. In addition to that, 18% of the unscheduled downtime is actually due to operator error. So if they're not being trained effectively, if the competency tests are not being carried out, or did they even have the license to operate that bit of kit, then that could cause you damage and downtime with regards to your business. And finally, you may be thinking, well, maybe that doesn't apply to my business. Maybe that's not effectively how much it's costing me, because we're quite tight in everything that we do, and we make sure that we are compliant with all these things. But roughly 82% of companies experience at least one instance of downtime or unplanned downtime in the last 3 years. So chances are you could benefit from improving and tightening those screws on the obstacles that we mentioned. But that said, all of those stats can be forgiven, because it's just money, and that can be earned in the future effectively. But something that is a real cause for concern is the fatal accidents and the serious injuries that we see in the industry at the moment. So you've got various different factors, like falling from heights, struck by moving objects, or trapped by something overturning or collapsing. However, the single most cause for fatal accidents within the industry in the orange is actually being struck by a moving vehicle or machinery, and often a lot of that can be through negligence, mispractice, when the relevant checks haven't been carried out, or at least if you have done what you needed to do and your due diligence within your business, then you can actually prove that you've taken the step to prevent that. All of that is all, I guess, to an extent negative. So how can digital construction come in and help? So what is digital construction to start with? Well, digital construction is the use and application of digital tools to improve the process of delivering and operating the built environment. Now, in general terms, and sort of what that will mean effectively, is in making the delivery, operation, and renewal of our built environment safer, more efficient, and collaborative. And moving on from that, and sort of how Formworks or any sort of digital solution can help, is then going into the sort of points that we observed earlier. So when we're looking at accreditation and compliance, it's effectively making sure that we are collating the information that we need to effectively ensure that all of the checks and the qualifications that need to be obtained are obtained, and we keep those on file, and it's electronic, and we can have access to those anytime we want. Looking at training, we can create and conduct training tests, competency questionnaires, to basically minimize the risks and reduce disaster costs when it comes to operational errors. With regards to maintenance checks, we can build maintenance forms to ensure machinery is serviced and maintained, which increase the operational efficiency and actually can reduce your breakdown or downtime in terms of cost. Looking onto on and off hire management, you can actually create forms to digitize the check-in and check-out process to ensure real-time availability of increasing hires and profits. With regards to health and safety, creating digital forms similarly to be completed remotely with a minimum criteria pass to make sure that the health and safety compliance is actually adhered to. Moving on to risk assessment, quite similar. You're actually incorporating images into a pre-hire forms that you can compare with the machine when it's returned to site. So effectively, it's very similar to when you're in the airport and you're actually hiring a car. The person that's there with you will walk you around the car and check any damage that's on the vehicle. So then when you bring it back, you can have a comparison to get accurate damage liability in effect. And that basically comes down to sort of the insurance and proving who was liable for what damage, again, saving you on your bottom line and increasing your efficiency. Effectively, what are the key takeaways? So you're improving cost efficiency. So you're reducing the exposure to risk, you're improving your maintenance, and you're getting accurate damage liability. Then we look at compliance. So you're carrying out the risk assessments that are necessary. You are doing your due diligence to ensure accreditation is provided and the competency questionnaires are completed, again, to reduce on those operator errors and disaster costs. Then you're looking at improving the time efficiency. So you're actually using pre-fill. So what Formworks allows you to do is create electronic forms of all these processes that you need to do that are currently being done on paper on various different platforms. And effectively, clicking the drop-down menu through scripting, we can actually create the form and have it be pre-filled with the relevant data that's needed for regards to that plant machinery, whether it's a dumper or a digger, which saves the person having to actually fill in those forms. And once it's actually filled in on site and then it goes back into the office, then there's no need for the re-entry of somebody in the administration team to create a digital version of that paper copy effectively. And all the data that's captured on site is actually available internally, and it's all instant. And then that takes us on to sort of data and the data quality. So you're reducing data loss, because obviously what you're actually doing is you're creating electronic forms, and that data is collected on the cloud within your internal systems. So therefore you're ensuring that it's not going to be lost. And you can actually introduce mandatory fields. So often you'll have forms and questionnaires that will come back with areas that are crucial missing, but introducing mandatory forms mean that that form cannot be processed or submitted with those areas actually filled in. And then you're collecting uniform data. So all the data that you're collecting in these electronic versions of the forms that you've created in Formworks will allow you to have all that data come in the same format, allowing you to then have the ability to compare, analyze, and report on them effectively. Right, so now I've told you sort of what the obstacles are and the issues that we face, and how digitization and the creation of electronic forms through a solution like Formworks can help. So what I'd like to do is actually bring in Paul Blakeman, who's very generously offered his time to go through a few questions just to give you his insight into Formworks and sort of how Formworks can help. So Paul, are you there?
I am indeed. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can. Perfect, Paul. So thank you very much again for joining us and spending the time to go through and sort of answer these questions. So Paul, if I could just ask yourself to sort of go through and introduce yourself and your role at Flannery.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Paul Blakeman. I've been at Flannery's now for around 11 months, and I predominantly run a new joint venture training business for them up in the Midlands. Yeah, predominantly plant orientated and various other health and safety kind of courses. So yeah, a big focus from Flannery to train operators, new and existing. So that's what I'm here to do, yeah, and oversee that.
Perfect. No, thank you very much. And Paul, just to shed some light on your sort of use of the software, I mean, what were the challenges that you were facing Flannery, and what were the issues that were being caused through not having a digital solution?
I think that, I mean, the problem is, I mean, Flannery are front focused on compliance, onboarding, inducting new operators, and wanting to check that ongoing competence of the operators that we employ. High on the agenda. You mentioned there about the accidents, and what can essentially happen, and all those other issues that can come from that. So front end Flannery's have always been about compliance, making sure we've got the right people on those machines to alleviate any issues. So our program of making sure that happens, where we're constantly checking on operators that we onboard. If you can think, yeah, we've got to keep on top of that. We've got to have a kind of a system. And before we obviously brought Formworks on board and all these digitized forms, all heavily paper-based, which is a big problem. Obviously, we don't want paper. Big issues with paper, not only completing it on site, but then storing it. So a big issue, and that's got to run in line with our business, to make sure we're ahead on the compliance front.
Okay, no, yeah, that's completely understandable. And so, what did these challenges mean for the business? How do they affect sort of your day-to-day efficiency? How do they affect your bottom line cost? And were you always able to keep a hold and collate that data without it being lost or sort of through operator error being changed?
I'd like to say yes, we probably could keep a check in it, but that would probably be a little bit misleading. Obviously, anything that's paper-based, you've got a big problem there of it getting lost, getting destroyed. Lots of issues, I think. So we really needed to get away from paper. Even for it to be completed properly, people can miss things on paper when you haven't got a digitized form where you're prompted to complete something before you move on to the next page, and so on. So a paper, kind of version and system is a bit of an easy way out for the guys who are going to be completing this paperwork. I don't think it provides a formal structure, whereas a digitized form, that's given us everything.
Perfect. And I guess really, how did the use of Formworks help those processes and having those digital variations of those forms effectively? I mean, how did it fit into those challenges, and what differences did it make?
I think huge differences. Obviously, the biggest one being the paper issue. We haven't got to rely on lots of storage space now, because if you think about it, Flannery's have probably got the biggest plant hire fleet in the UK. And I'll probably say, because you ran through what Formworks can do, but obviously Flannery's at the moment are using this predominantly for training compliance and a part of onboarding. So we're not even scraping the surface of the off hire of the machines and the machine checks. I think there's a lot more possibilities where we can use you guys and the Think project to develop more of our systems and get them from paper and your standard spreadsheets and get them all digitized. So yeah, I mean, I think it made a huge difference. Paper, time, we've got all the data in one place. We've got a formal kind of digitized form, with the help of you guys, because we work with you a lot. Very easy to make amendments. If our business changes, we can change something on a form that then is straight out to the guys in the field, because we've got our trainers who are nationwide. We can't always get them together. So, in the past, we'd have to amend our paper PDF versions and get it out to all the guys. You're losing time there. So to have something change instantly, with the help of you guys on the digital form, that's been, amazing, really.
Fantastic. And obviously, the goal here is digitization and showing everybody how digitization can help. But would you recommend somebody that's currently using paper-based, from what you've said? I mean, would you recommend somebody that's using paper-based processes to move over to a digitalized way of working? Obviously, we want to say Formworks, but digitization here, I guess, is the question.
If I rewind pre-Flannery, my role here, I've been a user and interactor with Formworks in a previous role, and we changed from a paper-based format for our national mobile teams. It doesn't mind me saying, I used to work at CITB, so the Industrial Training Board, and our nationwide apprenticeships team were using a paper-based format, lots of different forms when you're involved with apprenticeships. So just the sheer amount of forms is enough to create a lot of headaches and storage. So we moved over and started using the Formworks system probably in 2015. And yeah, I think you speak to anybody, and yeah, the difference that it makes is phenomenal. You can't put a price on getting rid of paper and bringing in a digital system. It literally revolutionized how we did things. The reporting structure, using the cloud, the hub-based version of what you guys offer. I think that's invaluable. You can see all your forms in one place. You can move forms around. So yeah, anybody who's thinking of using this system with you guys, ultimately, yeah, huge benefits. I don't think once you've kind of experienced this, why would you ever want to go back and use something that's paper-based and manual? It's just a no-brainer for me. It's got to be the way forward. And like I said, for Flannery's just to be dipping their kind of toe. And we've been using these forms for a while, but I think we've got huge potential to digitise a lot of everything else that we do. And again, that'll make a huge difference to how we operate.
No, thank you very much. No, and you're absolutely right, Paul. Ultimately, I think the construction industry is one of the most behind on this on the digitization and moving to a digital way of working. But obviously, from what you've said, and thank you for your kind words, it does really make a difference, and it can help. And I guess the goal of this webinar is really about digitization and creating that education amongst the industry into how digitization can help. Obviously, Formworks is one solution within that, and that's what we'd like to show you next. So Paul, thank you so much, obviously, for your time, and thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. So great. So obviously from what Paul said and sort of what digitalization can offer. So what we'd like to do now is to effectively show you that firsthand in how easy it is and how bespoke you can create these forms and move to a digital way of working. So what I'd like to do now is hand over to my colleague James Earle, who's, as I said before, is one of our product specialists and works in our delivery team, to show you a live demonstration of how Formworks works, how forms can be made, and how effectively easy it is to sort of integrate into your business.
Yeah, thank you, Nima. That's great. On here, there we go. So hopefully you should all be able to see my screen on my iPad. So this is an iOS solution at the moment. We can use web forms as well. And you can see I've already downloaded the app down here, so I can go and click into Formworks. You can see you can't see my login, it gives it nice and secure on there. So I can log in to the application here. And then in the background, I've got a number of templates that I'm already working on. So I've got the accreditation test, NEC contract setup form, other things we're using, and plant delivery collection note. So we're going to work on this one today. So I can click on this form here, and then I can start to fill it out. I'll just kill off the thing. So it's very, very simple to use, very, very intuitive, and we'll go through this step by step. So what I'm going to fill out is a collection note on this particular form. So I can go and click on the date. We're going to put in today's date from here. I can select which particular depot I want to work on, which depot, and a customer site address, so we can pop in the address down here. Nice and easy. Sort machine out, so it's machine type 1. The driver for demonstration is my good self. I can go and get a barcode if I want. So if I've got machines barcoded or anything barcoded in the system, I can go and click on a barcode here. You just go and sure that barcode will pick up. So it picks that number nice and easy. You know, in future I won't be driving a container of Tesco tomato passata, but that's just to give you an example that it will pick up barcodes. Put in my contact number here. Go any hours doing so we're picking up, so we've got an hour on time, waiting time. So we can put all these little bespoke fields in there for anything that we want. I'm going down to pick up a dumper truck. So I've got a dumper truck checklist in front of me. Has it got panels? Yep, they're okay. All the beacons are intact. The lights are intact. Ignition keys. Number plate light is fine. It's got the seat belts fitted. The seat is there. Is the tow pen in place? Have I checked the operator's manual? Yeah, that's come back with it as well. So if you want to send all these parts, it's all about the accreditation and making sure that all the equipment goes out and all the equipment goes back as well. I can go and check the full tank. So this one's got a quarter left. Have a quick look at the tyres. 50% on there, 50% on that button. On the offside rear, well, I'd say it's about 20% because it's had a good work. Tyre so there, nice and easy. Click done that. Now I've got a sketch panel, so I can go and highlight any damage to the machine. Slight dink on the left-hand side, slight dink on the front, another dink on the right-hand side, and the number plate's got a crack. I can post that in. Now I can go and get an image if I want to from my stock. There we go. Or equally, we can take a picture of an item on site as well. Again, this is all about minimizing and maximizing at the same time. We're minimizing the use of paper forms. You know, people are checking these forms and what are they doing? They're filling in a piece of paper in the rain, scrunching it up, sticking it into their site pocket. With this iPad in a protective case out on site, doesn't have to be the all singing or dance an iPad. As long as it's got a wireless connection, you know, this can all be worked very efficiently. I've been in places where we used to send users out on site that have a low-level iPad, but also in their pocket that have a mobile dongle as well to give them, you know, 100% connectivity throughout the day. Any notes? All is good. Done on that one. Notes here. Cracked VRN plate and small dents. Noted. There we go. Signed by the hirer. I'm going to sign it from here. Quick finger. name EARLE on behalf of I think project. Scroll through the form. Anything else I need to? Any other security options got? No, nothing from there. Sign in again. Name EARLE. Anything else I need to do? So that's how easy it is to fill in a form. I can click done from there, and then I can submit my form, which means it's completed. And I can also validate my form. So I may need somebody else, maybe higher up the command chain, that needs to validate the form. But once I've pressed this, submit, then that form has been sent. So those details will arrive to my email in a very, very short while. And it takes me back, and you can see a record of the forms that I've got there. So it's all very, very easy to use. So now what I can do is show you how quickly and easy it is to create and manage forms. We've done the really easy bit of being able to fill a form in, but now we're going to show you now what that form looks like in the back end. So this is my access, you can see on screen, to Formworks admin back office page, call it what you want, we can see from there. And these are the same forms that you can see I've got access to, and I can go over to the plant delivery collection note. Now we've seen this form already. This is the exact same form I just filled in via the tablet, which makes it easy to work, easy to use with. I can change any of these fields. So this is a really highly customizable piece of equipment that you can do. Your imagination is the only limitation on these types of forms. So if it's a box that needs to be filled in, or a button that needs to be ticked, or a signature that needs to be collected, or a photo that needs to be taken, we can do all this. We've got all these selection types on the left-hand side of the screen up there. All right, so how easy is it to create a form? Now, I'm no scripter, I'm no mass computer programming. I can get by, I've got a bit of computer knowledge, but to create a form, it is as easy as this. I can add a page. I've got one already set up. So this is a demo page with a section, okay? So now all I have to do is a case of selecting the field that I want and placing it onto the form. So we're going to show you quickly how to create a very simple check-in form. So the first thing I'm going to go and collect is a multiple selection form. So I click on the multiple select, take my cursor over to the section on the form, and I can put it in. Okay, that noise you may have heard in the background is a default noise to say that it's gone. I'm always given two options by default. So I can take these options out. Now I can put in what I want. So I want to check that the keys are coming back. I'll just put a capital K in there. There we go. Also, I want to check that are the beacons in place. Is the seat intact? Do I have the fuel cap? Okay. Do I have the number plate? Or VRN, for those of you that are going to pick me up from here. Now, that's going from north to south, top to bottom at the moment, but I can stretch the margin around and it fills in that page nice and easy. Not a problem with that at all. So that's a multiple select field. Now what we can go and get is a single. So this is enabling me to tick multiple items off a list. Also, we can have a single select field as well. So I can go back up to my selection box, pick up the single select field. Now you can see on the screen there, it gives me the left and the right option of where this form is going to go. Because I've stretched this margin out, if I click that one, it's going to drop it underneath. Okay, so we can pull in items that we want now. So what we want to do here is to check, we're going to check the fuel type. So I'm going to give it a title, fugue, can't type it. Here we go, scroll down to here, and again, I've given two options by default, and I can put in what I want. Is it a full tank? Okay. Is it 3/4? Is it half? Just make sure I type that in properly. Okay. Is it 1/4 tank? Let's go down to eighths. I mean, you can put this as decimal if you want to, but we're just doing this because we all know how a fuel tank works. So now this is a single select. So there's multiple options, but I can only select one. Okay. So let's go and do what? So that's multiple select, single select. Let's go and do a number now. So this is good for checking off the percentage of tires. You know, you can have a simple good or bad or used, but we're going to do number select here, and we're going to do tires. So we're going to bring the number select in, drag it across to the page. There's drop down box, so we can go down here. So this is going to be near, side, front, percentage. Okay. Now I can copy this option to the next one, and I'm going to call it off side front. Put a 0, sorry, an O into there. Lovely. I'm going to copy it again. Offside R for rear. Okay, copy it again, and I'm going to have near side rear. So we've got near side front, offside rear, near side rear. And because it's a number field, it's telling me there. These won't be visible on the form when it's live, but that 1, 2, 3 tells me that this is actually a number field that we can add in there. So we can add in a percentage, whatever. So if you want to collect numbers or collect numeric information, you can use number fields. The next thing I'm going to bring in now is a sketch photo. Similar to when we go rent a car, you can see there are sketches on there, and you can go and identify any damage to the vehicle. Again, I'm going to make this about, stretch the margin up, make it about 50% size of the screen, bring that down, and now I can go and select the image of what I want. There's my picture there. Lovely. We've seen this one before in the previous demonstration. Okay, but it could be anything you want to, any little sketch or PNG or JPEG or whatever you want to do. So the world's your oyster on this one. Okay, let's go and do a photo element now. So we want a photo element in here. Again, there's my drop sign. I can bring that to the left of that. I can bring it across to the size of the screen. So what have we got? Multiple select, single select, numerical selection fields, sketch, and photo. Okay. The next thing we want to do is try and capture that user's name. So we're going to put in a text field. Bring a text field up. Okay. You can drag it across. Name. Okay. What I didn't do is give this one a name. I mean, you don't have to name them. It's pretty obvious that that's going to be a sketch. And this one's pretty obvious. And it's going to be a photo. Okay, there's my name field I'm working on, and the final piece de la resistance is going to be a signature. So I could bring a signature field in, bring that over here. Okay, stretch that out. Signature. Okay, and when I'm happy, I can save that. And that is how easy it is to create a form. It's a very, very simple form. Now we can put scripting into this, so fields talk to other fields. We can pre-fill data. There is absolutely, the list is endless of what you can do. And I'm sure Paul will reinforce the thing that this is just to digitize your plant collection and your plant delivery. It's second to none. It is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to hand back over to Nima now. If anybody's got any questions, Nima, back over to you.
That's lovely, James. Thank you very much. Okay, so any questions in the comments? So we've already had a few questions come through, so I'll go ahead and answer these and see if there's any more whilst we go through these. So first question was, how quickly can Formworks be set up? So Formworks, really, it does depend on the requirements that you have effectively and exactly what you need it for and the number of different types of forms that you want. But once you effectively come on board with us, then what we can effectively do is go through, analyze all the different forms that you have, or you would provide us effectively with the paper copy or PDF copies that you have, and then we would either create the forms for you through our delivery team, or we could actually provide the training that you require in order to be able to create your own forms. I mean, as James showed, it's fairly straightforward and easy to do. And I think once you've made a few forms, then you can go ahead and make as many forms and as many templates as you like. But yeah, going back to how quickly can it be set up, it really does depend on your exact requirements. But let's say you had 5 different forms, then we could have you set up in a few days, really, at tops. How bespoke is Formworks? So Formworks, I guess, as James showed, I think sort of answered that question in advance, but the form can be as bespoke, as big or as small, and have as many fields as you want, and as many different features, whether it's a photograph, multi-select, single select, signature box, dates, whatever you need it to be. Just to give you visibility, before Formworks was actually procured by Think or acquired by Think Project, they actually had clients, which some are legacy that we still do have within different industries. So it's not just relevant to the construction industry, it can be used across industry. So that's how bespoke it can really be. It's just about how you create the forms, and we can effectively make the exact form that you have as a PDF copy or a paper copy in a digital way on Formworks. How is the data managed? So the data on Formworks, the templates and the data that you collate is obviously yours, and the data is then either is either effectively kept in your cloud, and the forms that have been completed are kept in your cloud, and you can extract the data in different formats. So like a CSV, for example, if you wanted to do some reporting, you would collate all the data that's been brought in through the completion of forms, and you actually can export that and bring that into your sort of internal reporting software. If you want it to be done a little bit more advanced than that, then we can create an SQL bridge. What that allows you to do is for Formworks to talk to your internal software, internal system, and be able to sort of bring in and out data through that feed. Where do the completed forms go? So again, the data is kept on the cloud or on your systems, but then in terms of the physical forms, so what you can actually do is have those forms that have been completed emailed out, whether it's via an email or a PDF to whoever that you choose, and that's all managed in the back end side of Formworks where you create the forms. How does it work on site? So as James showed, effectively the forms are on your tablets, so an iPad, for example, or a mobile phone for that matter, but we would recommend an iPad just because it's a bigger screen that can fit the form in. And effectively it can work either online or offline if you've got the app on your iOS device. And effectively, if you have internet connectivity, once the form is completed and it's submitted, then in real time it goes into the cloud where it can be accessed in the office. Or if you're offline, you can still complete the form on the app, and once you have internet connectivity, then it will sort of speak and sort of forward the form across into the server. In terms of actually being able to send out forms to your clients, or how it works out on site if you were to send the form, then we do have something that's called web forms. So it's basically through a link, so you would need internet connectivity at all times, but effectively the way it would work is that you would create the form and, for example, send it to a client of yours. So just you want to make sure that the operators that they have are accredited, and they've got the license, and and they're and they're capable of actually operating the machinery that you're hiring out. Or it could be the fact that you're sending out a form to ensure that the insurance that covers your investment, your plant machinery, is actually you might want the details of that insurance just to make sure that the plant that's being used on their site in their possession is actually insured correctly. So there's a lot of customizability, and the way in which Formworks can work is truly bespoke. So those are some of the questions. I can't see any more at the moment in the chat box. Let me just have a look. Okay, I think that's everything. So I hope you found this webinar to be informative, has given you an idea of what digital construction is, and effectively how digital construction can help alleviate some of the obstacles within the plant hire industry as it currently stands. So without further ado, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for joining. And if you have any questions or anything else outside the webinar, by all means, please feel free to get in touch and we'd be happy to help. Thank you.